Welcome to Fast Pace, the new growth, leadership and management podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Dean Mackie. We wanted to peel back the layers on what happens in the world of fast-paced real estate agencies, from new leadership models to the management challenges we all face each day. This is about a new era in the estate agency sector. Rapid changes to business models, service lines, remuneration and growth present the greatest opportunities that we've ever seen. Sit back, get inspired, grow your skills and reimagine what's possible with Fast Pace. Every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Josh Phegan Digital. Welcome back to 2023. It is a phenomenal year, and ultimately we know that, Dean, there's going to be a lot of different market changes. A lot of real estate agencies are, coming back into January, starting to wonder, hey, what do we do? How do we plan? What does it look like? Dean, how do you refocus? How do you get into that position for that rapid level of momentum for a new set of market conditions? We definitely know that we're heading into a decline, if not ultimately into the bottoming out of a market cycle. That means that ultimately there's going to be a lot of pressure on sales teams. There's a lot of pressure on property management in a different way because there's a lot of demand for rental properties. What can we be doing as great business leaders to really get that focus on and to make sure that we're really clear with the opportunities that are ahead?
Thanks, Josh. From a leadership perspective, I think there's a few things that are really important at this particular point in time. You and I have talked about the whole VUCA world in the past, and it just seems to keep coming up with it being so volatile and uncertain, complex and ambiguous. As a leader, this is the time that you need to step in and provide a few solutions. And let me give you a perfect example. Because there's a few things here. There's a number of things. There's firstly, where are your team at, like mentally, physically, all that sort of stuff, and especially, I think a lot of people absorbed a lot of stress last year, and what shape are they coming out of into the new year with, and where are they at energetically? And I'll give you a sense that I went out this morning, I had a walk with one of our top performers, and quite clearly for him in particular, last year involved a lot of stress. And sometimes I think that when some people deal with stress really well, and a great way to do is deal with exercise and those sorts of things. But others, it's easier to go, I just get in the habit of having a glass of wine or a few beers, maybe eat too much, whatever, stay on the run. And all of those bits and pieces combined can develop habits. And those habits mean that you're coming into the new year potentially still holding on to some of those, especially at Christmas and all that sort of thing. So I think the first thing to say as a leader is to do a bit of a check-in as to where are people at mentally and physically. And sometimes it's like the first 90 days of this particular cycle for me is making sure my people are looking after themselves, because their performance in the long term is going to be connected to their well-being and what they're doing now, what habits they're putting in place at the start of the year. So in his case, he has three main objectives, and one of which I can't help him with because that's having a new baby. But
you might be able to.
But the others, one was financial, and the other one was more about some weight loss and some physicality and all those sorts of things. So I think my most the thing I would say is when you're going through any difficult change, any stressful period, you got to be looking after yourself and checking in on those habits. That's the first thing I'd say from a leadership perspective. Be a solution maker on those, and then if you're a leader who's also out there selling, getting your team back to basics. It's all the simple stuff that that you can actually put in place that takes that stress away, that makes it easier and actually helps you get the deals done. As an example, I had someone call me yesterday to ask me for some advice on the market and should they sell or not sell, who's the agent to sell through and all that sort of stuff. And I just stopped and I just said, hey, look, I'd love to sort of help you with that, but before you answer that question, what is it you're actually looking to achieve here? Why are you selling? What's the thing I need to know about why you're actually making a change? And as it turned out, they want to take the money and put it into barley because barley's come off in price so much in the last 6 to 12 months. But, and in her case, just getting her head, for me, then it became a simple matter of saying, well, look, if you're not going to hold on to 2025 and beyond, I reckon it's it's going to be the best time you're going to sell this side of Christmas in 2023 in any case, because the interest rate's coming and it's an affordability issue, right? But getting into that whole explanation around what's happening, for someone who's buying 500, how much they have to earn now versus what they used to earn, and just giving her a sense of that, because I need her to understand at the very, very beginning of that conversation what to expect and making sure that she's motivated and she's still prepared to sell and meet the market. And that was my question. So knowing what you know now, are you prepared to meet the market? And so making sure, and I think that a lot of agents and leaders in the past haven't stopped off because they haven't needed to, just to do the qualification right, making sure you're working with the right motivation. Simple things like, right now, you've got agents sometimes avoiding the conversation around price because they know the vendor's in pain and they don't want to have that confrontation, but making recommendations every single day and doing the vendor, all the basics, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's a real brush everything off and go, right, what's your health like, where you're at, what's your energy like, because people buy energy, right? And then also, what's your education of the customer look like at the moment, and are you doing those basics that are going to get deals done?
And I think like the other great conversation too, if you go to that next level in the perspective is also too, is how's the business actually shaping up at the start of the year? So Dean, I know that we've got some businesses that are coming back and they've got no stock. And so, naturally they're trying to scrounge around how do we get that first listing? What does that look like? I also know that we've got a business that, for example, launched 93 properties on Boxing Day. So that's an industry trend that's here. And the interesting conversation, whether or not they sell them or what their clearance rate is, who'll know? We'll see that at the end of January or the start of February. But I know there's a big difference when you've got 93 open homes all of a sudden on that first Saturday back, and you've got boards up and you've got pointer signs and you've got your people meeting neighbours and buyers and sellers and getting a bit of a feel for the market well before the media comes back. That is a decision for business owners to be better at planning.
Absolutely.
And really identifying where are the drop-offs where you either don't have enough auction volume, you don't have enough listing stock, or that you've got too much stock that isn't clearing and you need to have conversations around price reduction. So I think we're going to need to be very adaptive to actually say what's the health of the business right now in forward pipeline, and what are we doing with our current stock to make sure we get it sold, right?
Oh, I agree 1,000%. If you're running your business in 90-day sprints, as we've discussed, you'll be ahead of that anyway, because you're thinking, okay, well, I need to focus on the next 90 days, and then you're forward looking. So if you're ahead of that stuff, it is crucially important. I know, for example, we definitely have some stuff that sort of stock that's hung over, and if you look at what stock is hung over, and then you go into it and I look back at it and I go through each and every one of those properties, I can clearly see that the agent at some point in time didn't do those basics that we talked about, right? So it's sort of like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think that if you just go, and you are right, let's call it a health check. A health check's probably the perfect word for it, for your business and also for your people, to make sure that mentally everyone's ready to go and that they're prepared to do all the things. And it might be, to be honest with you, probably identify some systems and processes and things in the business that maybe you haven't had to worry about either, in the previous market, that really, given the fact that so there could be some training required to get people refocused into what they really need to do, because it's unfortunate, but a lot of the time an agent is very a now person, and it makes them good at what they do because they're focused on the deals that they have at the moment, but they're not really thinking about what's coming on down the track. So as a leader, it's really important to get ahead of that and put that in front of the team and make sure that they're ready before they experience the pain that they of a market that potentially we see another interest rate rise and further issues. They're going to be absorbing a lot of stress from clients and vendors who potentially can't afford their mortgages and other bits and pieces. Other people might be going, oh my God, I can't afford the house I'm in, I need to downsize. And that comes with a high level of stress. And then all of a sudden the vendor's putting a lot of pressure on an agent to get a result. And so therefore it's making sure that you're leaving no stone unturned in that process.
And I think stripping back, what are the things that are just not needed and what are the things we definitely need to put in. So for example, I saw a great one the other day where an agency, when they sell a property, the first key thing is they think about all that buyer pool that has been generated on that campaign. What do we cross-sell them onto now? So we're going to pick up with the forklift those 20 buyers that we met there, and we're going to drop them down on that next new campaign. And thinking more broadly about cross-selling and
collaboration, all that stuff. And look, I think the more collaborative you can be, the more you can use the data and all the information that's inside your business, then of course you're going to be getting a better result for your customer.
And Dean, it's almost like you go back to those original, we used to call it stock control, the old stock control board, right? But actually saying, okay, we might have some stock sessions where we're going, what has not hit the metrics for its second appointment, or has not got an offer on it by now and it needs to, and then what are we doing now to make sure that we can change it, get better at the marketing, get better at the buyer work, get better at the pricing or the price guides or whatever we're doing here to actually get ourselves a result.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the other thing, Josh, I've noticed is I'm seeing a lot of agents think that I'll use social media and I'll use all the new stuff and be digital, right? If you're going to do it correctly and become educated, because I think what a lot of people do is they effectively just market their stuff to the people that they already know, right? And they're actually not fishing where the fish are. So learning how to do digital on purpose is something that I would say to people. Don't just sort of make all the noise and put all the stuff on the social, make it think that you make it feel like you're doing the result, because you're putting it out there thinking you're going to get an outcome, and chances are you're not, because you're actually marketing to mirrors.
Yeah.
So,
and that's other conversation too. It's like, the 5 top tips on how to present your home for sale versus one of my agents the other day was telling me that, they did about 200 plus transactions in his personal team. And he goes, out of the 200, I said, yeah. He goes, every one of those 200 was either painted, styled completely, or a mini renovation before it went to market. This is a part of their fee structure. And it's like, okay, great. So you're over here telling me my top 5 tips on how to present it, and they're actually doing it for me in the fee structure. And so that's the big difference, is you got to start to think differently. What does the customer actually need? Get that offering together. And, this is now the time to refresh. Where's your business at right now? What do you need to do to make sure that you've got a really good quality forward pipe? If your people are not in a position that they're going to be financially successful, what are you doing to get them back financially successful? Giving them great data sets to call, great dialogue to use, conversations to have, getting them inspired and motivated, and really putting the ball down on great customer success.